Okay, hi, welcome to Subscription Showdown. I have a pile of books I want to read this week. Is it like 1,000 some pages? Yes. It also is already Tuesday. It started on Sunday and it goes through Saturday. I'm still on my first book. Interesting read, but it is dense. So what am I reading here first? So my first book, I should tell you guys what I'm doing. Okay, so you know how Book of the Month has like challenges? You know, you like go on the app. The whole point of Subscription Showdown is just read down your book subscription, like TBR, you know? And I only do Book of the Month. So on Book of the Month, you know, on the app, there's like challenges. And you gotta read like so many books a year for one, and then the other, like, you gotta complete 3 of the 6 other challenges to like fully complete the challenge, right? Well, one of the ones I'm doing is the debut darlings one, where you have to read 5 debuts, and it only counts books from that were released in 24 and this year 25. So I actually already read one this year. It was How to End a Love Story, which was released last year for it, but I have 4 other debuts, so if I read all 4, I'll get that like little box ticked, you know? So I'm only doing debuts this week, and the one I have, which I already took the dust jacket off of, is A Love Day by Karie. It is about American military life, and basically I'll do a better premise of than what they do, okay? So her dad is a Korean vet, okay? Her husband was deployed to Iraq. He was not there very long. He got injured very quickly. Okay? That's the main premise that you need to know. But it's about her husband's injury, basically. I mean, they talk about some of her dad's, you know, aftermath of Korea and whatnot. But I feel like the main focus of the book is probably going to be her husband and the aftermath of the Iraq war. So I'm a good chunk of the way through this one so far. Like, that much. It is, like I said, very interesting. Does have some triggers. I mean, obviously you gotta expect some triggers with it being about American military life. However, I will say there are childhood SA triggers that you really don't get the vibe of, but that is brought up in chapter 1. So heads up there. I would have appreciated a heads up on that, but you know, I mean, like I said, you're kind of expecting triggers because, I mean, it's about military life, even if it's not American military life, just military life in general, you gotta expect that, you know, right? That there's gonna be some, most likely, gun violence. 2, that if it's about American military, again, military life in general, there's probably gonna be some mental health discussions. And I have a feeling we're also gonna delve into a little bit of the opioid crisis, just because it hasn't been like explicitly said so far as to where I am. I'm on top of chapter 12 now, but there have been hints that maybe her husband will end up addicted to painkillers, which and just kind of the way she said it, like the doctors, you can tell. I mean, it's 2006 when this all starts happening. You can kind of tell that there has been some like brushed off to the side, where like she brings up a concern to her husband's doctor, like, hey, can he take too much of this? Is he getting addicted? And the doctor kind of just brushes off her concerns, like, you feel in pain? Great, you need to take these pain pills. And she even mentions that like she feels like the pills are coming like every other week in the mail because it's like a mail order. And if you guys know anything about the opioid crisis, we did a horrible job, at least here in the US, that's all I really can comment on, about keeping track of when people were filling prescriptions. And people were refilling them way too soon or taking them to multiple pharmacies and getting them filled. I will also say, if you guys have been around here enough, you guys know that I'm in Ohio. One of our biggest pharmacies here in Ohio was called Rite Aid. And if you guys know anything about Rite Aid, I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna say it's in like nationally. I think it was mainly concentrated here in the Midwest, to be completely honest, for the most part. They actually pretty much closed down all but 4 Rite Aids in the state of Ohio. And the ones that they kept are in very rural communities where quite literally Rite Aid is your only option. And like more rural than where I live. Like, Rite Aid was the only pharmacy for our county really, besides Walmart. So I mean, they still closed ours because they were like, everyone could just go to freaking Walmart, you know. But Rite Aid went bankrupt last year, and part of it was their role in the opioid crisis because they illegally filled millions of prescriptions for opioid painkillers, you know. And yeah, there was like a big lawsuit and they lost. So they actually got bought out by Walgreens. If you didn't transfer, like where I'm from, if you didn't transfer your prescription from that Rite Aid to Walmart, you automatically were put out of Walgreens. And like the nearest Walgreens from like where that Rite Aid location is over 35 miles away. So like people are not going to drive 35 miles away to get freaking medicine. Like, guys, come on. But they did keep 4 in the state of Ohio where they like legit needed them because it was further than like 50 miles to the next nearest pharmacy, you know, type deal. But yeah, anyways, that's just like a little life spiel there, which is normal for me to go off on some kind of tangent. But it is like 10:30. I kind of do want to pick this one up a little bit more. I don't even know how much I've read today. Not very much, because I think it was at 131. But like I said, I'm very intrigued and kind of want to see where this is gonna go.
Good morning. How are we today? It's I'm slightly defrosting the car. You know, it's at that weird time in Ohio where it's like chilly in the morning, but it's still hot during the day. I want it to be colder during the day. But anyways, no matter what, this time of year we get like condensation on the windows, and like they will fog up when you start your car up. So you gotta like run your defrost for a little bit to get the windows normal. But I also really didn't know what to do with myself this morning because I didn't have an Ellie with me because much has happened since I updated you guys. Tuesday night Ellie started being weird. She started rubbing her face all over the ground. I'm like, that's weird, girl, knock that off. What the hell are you doing? So then, you know, I took her out to the bathroom. I was like, do you have to go to the bathroom? And then she came in. She was like all restless, just all night, like rubbing her head on everything. And so eventually, like, in the morning, I went and looked at her ear, and her ear is like super hot and red. And I don't know if it's just like there's something wrong with her ear, or if it's like she gave herself red burn, or a combination of both. But she was acting weird, and she was like freaking out all day on camera. And I was like, girl, you just need to sit down. Like, what are you doing? So I texted my mom, and she texted the vet, and he was in surgery yesterday, so he couldn't see her yesterday, but he's gonna see her today in the morning. But he recommended I give her some Benadryl. So I gave her a dose of Benadryl, and that seemed to work. Like, after it kicked in, like 30 minutes later, she like slept for an hour and calmed down. And then she was just like freaking out again. Like, I don't know what's wrong with her ear. Like, I tried to flush her ear, and trying to flush her ear is horrendous because she doesn't like want to keep liquid in it. You know, understandable, girl. But like, I'm trying to help you. And then I ended up giving her one of her carprofen from the last time she dislocated her leg. I was like, I don't know, maybe if you have an ear infection, maybe she's just in pain, and this will help calm her down. Which helped calm her down for like 3 hours, but then she was up on and off all night messing with her ear again. So she has an appointment this morning at 11. I have to work, so my mom is taking her on her birthday. God bless my mom. But I gave my mom her birthday present anyways. And so yeah, we're gonna see what's wrong with Ellie, I guess, because I'm like, girlfriend, what is wrong with you? I swear, every single time I start making any kind of like significant progress financially type stuff, like I'm getting paid 3 times this month instead of twice because of the way the weeks fall, because I get paid bi-weekly. And girlfriend needs to go do this. Like, I also, like, I am getting the battery in the car changed like next week because like I want it changed before winter, because, you know, I don't want to like I don't want the car to die. I need you, car. You're a good car. But yeah, I was like, girlfriend, what the hell? But anyways, I'm still reading the same book. I'm reading A Live Day by Karie. Yeah, this is going in the direction I was thinking. So, you know, it talks a little bit about her early life. Her dad was stationed in Korea, and she didn't really see him growing up because he was stationed in Korea, and they stayed on base in the U.S. in Washington. And after he came home and he retired from the military, they moved back home to where her parents are originally from, which is like Alabama. So they went there, and she ended up, there's a lot of stuff that happened during her childhood, whatever. No, I'm not spoil everything. But then she ends up meeting her future husband while they're like in middle school, and then she moves again, and so they have no contact anymore. But then he messages her on MySpace, like after high school, like when she's like 20, 21, something like that. And they reconnect and they get married right before he deploys to Iraq. And he gets injured while in Iraq. And then it is kind of after that, kind of going through his injuries from Iraq and like dealing with those. And this is obviously at the beginning of really when I think the opioid crisis began. And it is a little bit talking about his different painkillers he was on, and yeah, he ended up getting addicted. And it's kind of her talking about how the pharmaceutical and medical doctors have failed at trying to explain the significance of like this is addiction. And we haven't really gotten into the pharmacy's role in that, where they just kept like dispensing opioids like candy. Like, bro, like no, people are like taking these way more than they should. You should not be like refilling them as easily. But yeah, we've kind of gotten into that aspect of it. So we're kind of in the middle of that. It's a lot. Like he has a lot of like medical problems concerning his injuries. But it's kind of like about his addiction now and how they used to argue a lot, because obviously you kind of change when you're addicted to stuff, you know, and how he just became, and like he has PTSD and he's just angry, you know. So it's kind of where we are. I'm hoping to finish that one. I might just make this one like, just because it is already Thursday, I might make this like a debut nonfiction vlog, actually, because I have another debut nonfiction to read too that was in my pile. So maybe I'll make that, and then like I'll make a part 2 with like the fiction books later. That's kind of what I'm thinking about with all of this so far, because this one, while it's not very long, is taking me a little bit longer to read, just because the material is just, you know, more dense, you know, if you feel me. So like, not like it's denser to read, but it's like more to process per se. But yeah, but I should probably leave to go to work because I gotta be there in 13 minutes. So I'll see you guys then. Good morning. It's actually the last day of our challenge, and we finally finished a book. Haha. So I actually finished it really, really late last night. Like, I was gonna go to bed. I was like, actually, just let me finish up my chapter. But then I like was so sucked into the end of a live day that like I had to keep reading. Again, more like trigger warnings should definitely be added to it, because some of these do not have to deal with the military. Like, I feel like you could maybe argue, like the gun violence, yes, you obviously can. You could argue overdosing with the opioid type stuff. Arguably, you could say that obviously that's coming. And she kind of hints at that she thinks her husband's addicted, you know, for a long time. But there's another one. There's miscarriage warning in here. I'll tell you guys that right now. Like, be prepared for that news. But I was so sucked in at the end, and it is nonfiction, but there was just stuff like, okay, so she goes to a medium, and it's just the stuff that like, I know people don't believe in like ghosts and stuff, but I do, and like the medium stuff. And when you even hear some of it, when you find out like how they know it's him, is that they ask like, how did he doesn't like how he's buried. How did he want to be buried? He wanted to be buried, he wanted to be cremated and made into a dildo. That's what he says. That's what like the medium says. And he's never said that to his wife. So like, she's like, that sounds like something he would say. And when she's talking to one of his best friends from, you know, that was in Iraq with him, and he's like, no, that's what he actually wrote on his military papers before our first deployment. That's what he wrote. They made him like redo it, but that's what he actually wrote. And he had never told his wife that. He had only like only people who were there with him when he was filling out his paperwork would have known that. And so I think it's a very interesting read. Really got sucked in. I'm not a big crier, but I almost cried at the end of reading this. Just like that kind of stuff, like with the medium and stuff, hits close to me, and like how your loved ones are still around. And like, she's like, yeah, sometimes things do happen where like the lights will flicker off and I have to go turn back on, or this will happen. It just reminds me of like own personal experiences that I've had where like, yeah, no, that's like not how things would happen. And like, I'll find, personally, this is like a personal thing, but I'll find like change laying around my apartment, which is like weird because I don't carry cash typically. I do collect coins, but like finding a pile of coins is
weird, but I will. I'll find piles of coins just like randomly, and it's something my grandpa used to do, is like he'd empty his pockets out and have change, and he would let me look through them because I collect coins. He's actually the one who got me into coin collecting, but it's stuff like that where like I personally cannot deny the existence of an afterlife for us. But really interesting read. Again, like I almost cried several times. I don't think I could have done it like she does at one point, and I mean this is in like her little bio here in the back, that she has a master's from Oregon State University. She leaves the South, she leaves Alabama for a period of time for college, and I commend her for that, because I don't think I could do it, knowing that her husband was buried in Alabama and like she could not visit his like gravesite. So I really commend her for that. Also, speaking on topic of gravesites, you would think the military would be dead set on getting things right, but they messed up his headstone. They didn't even put the right war on his headstone, and I feel like that's you think that would be a major indicator, you know? Like, can you guys read out of curiosity? But yeah, that's all I really have to say about this one. It was really like heart-wrenching. I am gonna give it to my grandma to read because I think my grandma would enjoy it too. But next, I already put my bookmark in it, but we're gonna pick up The Man No One Believed, which is the untold story of the Georgia church murder, and this occurred in 1985. So I want to read this. This was actually August pick for book of the month, so it's another short one, which is really why I'm going to do that, because it is the last day of the challenge. So I'm hoping I can like really just like buckle down and focus. I don't know how many pages it actually is, because that's an index. Notes and sources. I don't really think I need to read your note and sources. I don't know if I need to really read the acknowledgements. I never really do. 213. So I feel like that's manageable for our last day here. So I'm gonna pack up. I'm gonna go get something for breakfast. I think I really just want some pancakes, so I'm gonna go find some, but thought I would share that I'm gonna be picking this up today, and we'll go from there. Well, I started the Man No One Believed by Joshua Sharpe. I've made a good dent in it, as you can tell. It's not a very super long one. Like I said, I've made a good chunk here today so far. They have like 75 pages left of actual like story, and then, you know, there's like acknowledgements and like index type stuff in the back here, and notes on sources from like where he got stuff. Yeah, so I got this because it seemed like the most interesting pick in August to me, but when I was like marking it on my Goodreads this morning, I don't go on Goodreads a ton. I usually just like mark when I start and when I finish a book, and like put my rating and stuff on there, and if I like physically write a review, I put it on there. But I like happened to scroll down because it has like a 3, like a low 3 or something, and I was like, oh, let me just scroll down and see. And I can definitely see where a lot of the complaints are with this book, because yeah, super boring. There's a lot of talk that just doesn't need to be in it. Like, I really don't need to know about the officers' like personal lives and all that. And I just feel like it's just lacking like a compelling case. Like, you're not really making it compelling in this regard. Like, it's a very brief description of the crime and of the immediate investigation, which I know it won't hold case for a while, but yeah, super boring. I just got to part 2, and I know there's a part 3 because people talked about it being like part 3 is probably the most interesting part of what they said. I don't know where it starts though. And it also is lacking photos, which I don't particularly care if it has photos or not, but I 100% can see what people were talking about when it would have been nice if they would have included photos, because there's a lot of people being talked about in this book, and they're like brought up once and then they're not mentioned again for like 2 chapters, and you're like, who is this again? Like, why did you introduce them 2 chapters ago and just be like, they're a detective, and then let it go? Like, maybe don't bring in people like names until we're actually gonna talk about them like significantly, but yeah, I can see where a lot of complaints are. Anyways, though, it is like a little after 10 p.m., but my goal is to go ahead and finish this today. But I'm gonna do a little bit of a self-care evening here. So like I just got home, so I'm gonna go do a little bit of the self-care like in the bathroom and whatnot. I'm gonna do like a face mask tonight and stuff, so I'm gonna go get that put on and like read while I'm like waiting for the face masks, you know, to do its thing and whatnot. So yeah, I'm gonna be picking up this one here, but yeah, I can see where a lot of the complaints come from for this one, because yeah, I'm not very compelled, and like I don't DNF, I'm stubborn like that, and I completely know where I get that stubborn streak from, because my grandma and I were talking the other day. We're actually talking about books we were reading, and I was talking about how I think she would like a live day, and I was gonna let her borrow it after I finish it, which reminds me I need to bring it with me tomorrow so that I can give it to her just so she can read it. But she was talking about how her book, she like didn't like it, and she's like, it might take me a while to finish it, but I want to finish it, which is like the same mindset I have. I'm like, I'm gonna finish the book when it takes me a while. But at this point, I'm just trying to power through. I'm like, it's super short, let's get this done. It's the last day of the challenge, so let's just power through and get it done and get it off my list of things to do, you know? Well, I finished The Man No One Believed last night. Yeah, quite frankly, I didn't like it. I feel really bad saying it because it's a debut author, and I don't like to judge debut authors as hard, but yeah, I didn't like it. 2 stars. It just, the case was not written in a compelling manner. You know, like, I actually do want to learn more about the case, and I'll probably do my own research on it. But it was just not written in a intriguing way that makes you want to read the book. He talks a lot about a lot of different people, which I know there's a lot of people involved, but like I mentioned last night, like there are people we mention and then we don't mention them again, and there's like way too many people being mentioned, and some of this stuff just does not need to be in there. Like, we don't need to reference this and this and this and this, you know? Like, I just feel like there was a lack of keeping the reader intrigued in it. It is an interesting case, but I feel like it didn't have a hook to keep people there. So my goal this week was to finish the debut authors thing on like Book of the Month's like little challenge page. I did not do that obviously because I didn't read 4 books, but however, I did finish the Omni Reader. Is that what that one's called? I'll put it on screen. I did finish that one last night because I didn't realize that Book of the Month categorized the 2 nonfictions as different. I would have just called them simply nonfiction, but it has it broken up into 2 different genres. I guess memoir and probably like true crime or nonfiction or something like that. But I would not say those are 2 different genres personally, but I love just like all of nonfiction to like one group, not gonna lie. I guess that you probably really shouldn't, because you know there's different subcategories, but like to me it was all the same, so didn't realize that would classify for that. So I got one done, yay! And we're up to 9 books for this year on Book of the Month now that I've read that like will qualify for the challenge, which is probably honestly the highest I have ever had since I got Book of the Month. Like, I did really good the first year I had it, I'm not gonna lie. I did real good. I got it in 2020, and I read like all my books from 2020, and then yeah, 2021 is where it all fell apart. I was like, la 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 la. But we accomplished 1, so I guess kind of my goal was accomplished for the week. I wanted to get one of the challenges done, so it does qualify. I have some library books to read next physically that are going to be due, so I'll probably focus on those next physically. But then after that, I probably will go ahead and finish all debut authors. So I guess we'll be doing a debut authors part 2 coming up. I'll put it on the screen here because I'm in the car, obviously, so I don't have a page total. But I'll put it on the screen, okay? Like, right over here. We'll put the page total over here. I don't know. It's probably close to like 5 something, I would imagine. Just rough estimate of how many pages it is. Probably around 5, maybe 6 with that. I don't know. I'd really have to go look. But it's right around that ballpark, which isn't really that bad. It was just like that first book was so heavy topic, a live day. But I loved it. I actually have it in the car here with me because I'm going to give it to my grandma to read because like that one hit hard.
that one really hit hard. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, that's all I have for this week.